get there. Yo, what's up, fam? What's up? What's up? What's up? I done moved my screen around. I didn't even see y'all over there. Actually works better this way. But I did not see. I forgot y'all had came in. What's up? Appreciate y'all coming in, politicking with your boy tonight. Let me see if I can get my peeps to hit up Discord. How's everybody week going? Dropping. Y'all. Give me a hundred. Oh, let's see. Cam clip. I got that cam clip in the background. Since all my homegirls keep sending this to me, I guess I'll open the show with this today. Everybody want to know, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about Cam saying he need to know who you slept with? All right. I'll discuss it. I'll discuss Cam tonight. I'll open with Cam. Talent acquisition tip of the night. Y'all know I always open with that. Recruiting, how to get hired. Hey, appreciate you asking, man. Fam is doing good, man. Everybody, siblings are doing well. Parents are doing well. Kid is actually doing much better in school this year. It's first year in middle school. Doing better. Me and his mom doing better. I don't know. Knock on wood. No. So far so good, man. Oh man, appreciate you asking, man. How y'all fams doing, man? Let's see what we got on deck. This week we did not have a pod yet because our executive producer, videographer, editor extraordinaire, which is Gavin, as he likes to say, I just come and yap. He's actually working in Vegas this week, so I'll probably record Monday and drop it on Monday. And then I don't know, maybe we'll follow it up with another one on Thursday. I know I'm putting work on them, so we'll see. But yeah, man, all my homegirls, they hit me up. Everybody sent me this cam clip with him checking in on, who his previous woman has slept with. So, I mean, I'll drop an opinion on it. I don't have a problem with that. I'll say what I need to say. You know what? I don't need to have this glass right here. I need to have my cup. Give me a sec. I'll be right back. Don't y'all go nowhere. All right, there we go. Much better. All right. So, talent acquisition tip of the night. You know, we always open with that. Quick thing. I know everybody's using Chat GPT right now. If you're not using AI, Chat GPT, DeepSeek, whatever, if you're not using it, you should be using it. And one of the things that I will say, everybody's running your resumes through Chat GPT, which is cool. No big deal. No one really cares. Take out all your personal information off of your resumes because these systems are backing up everything, right? So if you put your job in there, if you put your address in there, if you put where you work in there, it's a good chance that that's going to be stored in DeepSeek or ChatGPT, which means that if someone ever Googles you or, uses AI to search you, it's a good chance it'll pull that information back up again. So whatever you put your resumes in there or any information, always remember to take out all personal information before you put it into AI. So, whoops for a lot of y'all, because I know a lot of y'all just threw your whole resume in there. But moving forward, make sure that you pull out, your personal information. So pull out the company you work for, anything that's a pronoun, right? Specific dates, just pull all that information out. And so you know where it goes, just put it in parentheses and just put, company, date, name. So you can go back through and put it back in there once you go through Chat GPT or whatever, DeepSeek, whatever you're using. I'm trying to dive into the AI world since everything's going to be augmented by AI. I don't think AI is going to replace a lot of jobs, but I think a lot of jobs are going to be augmented, which means you're going to have to know how to use it, right? So nothing wrong with it, but make sure for sure. Hey, what's up, Mr. Walker? Make sure you pull out all of your personal information, because there is a chance that all of that information is being stored. Well, it's not a chance it's being stored, 100% being stored, but there's a chance that they do not have the parameters in place to make sure that other people cannot come behind you and pull that information right back out with the correct prompting. So if you're using AI to spruce up your resume, I know I do. I suggest you do. So if you do use it for that, make sure you take out all personal information before you put anything in there. For any prompting that you use, take out, if it's a pronoun, it needs to come out. Just use that as a rule. Pronouns needs to come out. All right. So the question that I am being asked by all of the ladies, as one of my homegirls said, one of my homegirls was like, I wish somebody that would have 3 baby mamas asked to run a whole fax on me. So let's go through what Cam said and let's respond to it. Let me see if I can reload this. I don't want to move it off the screen. Where's the reload?
The lady, the woman, the queen that I'm with right now. Day one. Fight. We set everything out from the jump. I already knew where it was going, because I already knew, like, she had my undivided attention, especially the space that I was in. And she was speaking my language. You dig what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And she thought I was playing when I asked this question. And I don't know if a lot of dudes can really compartmentalize, but there's some dudes that can really be like, bro, I'm with you. I wanted to know her list.
Of who she fucked?
I want to know.
Addresses?
I needed to know. I have to.
Oh my God.
And I'm going to tell you why, though.
I get it, though, because that is, I'll let you finish, but I think I get it.
I want to know, because before I sit up here and really keep moving and elevating our relationship, I want to know who got one up on me. The lady, the woman, the queen.
All right, so a lot of my, not a lot, it's not like I talk to 100 women a day, but I received this several times a day. I did not receive it one time. And then somebody was like, are you going to go over it on your live tonight? And I was like, I don't really like discussing Cam Newton on a live, right? But the question here is, should you ask your woman for a list? Cam said he wanted to know every name on the woman's list. Okay. All right. This is what I always say. You're not stupid as a man. You know what your gut instinct tells you, right? That's more true than anything that's about to come out of her mouth. It's not an insecurity. You're not afraid, right? Your gut is where all of your logic and rationale resides, okay? So you already know. When you ask this question, you low-key kind of already know, all right? Now, the reason why I never suggest asking this question, this is the biggest reason why I never suggest asking a woman, hey, what's your body count? Hey, what's the name of the guys that you've been with? All right? Because you're never going to get the truth. Ever. You're just never going to get the truth, right? I received it several times today, and I was talking to one of my homegirls, and I said, look, all women lie. Some women lie all the time. Some women lie a lot. And some women lie sometimes. But they all lie, right? So this idea that she's going to tell you something and you're going to feel in your heart of hearts that you've gotten the confirmation that you need is not true. It's not real. What you're doing is taking what she's telling you and you're lying to yourself. All right. this question doesn't have a place in maleness. It just doesn't, right? How many people you slept with? And look, it's not. I'm not saying it's not a question you can't ask, right? You can definitely ask, right? It's not. But don't ask it in the sense of like I'm judging you, right? It's like, yo, if you're just curious, just be like, so how many guys you have been with, right? And if she say 30, 40, 50, right? How you gonna feel about that? You need to kind of know that answer. If she went to college in the 2010s forward, that number could be anything. So if you're not prepared for that type of answer, the question that you really need to ask outside of, yo, let me see my charts, really just need to be is like, hey, is there anybody that you know that I know? That's what you're concerned about, right? Now, that's not a really poignant question because a lot of women, just told you, they lie. So a lot of women are going to play around that question, right? You didn't know him. You just, y'all was in the same bar at the same time every Sunday for the last 10 years, but y'all don't know each other, right? Like you get that kind of stuff, right? But what you're really asking is like, yo, is there anybody that I need to be concerned about, right? Is there anybody that I do business with? Is there a homeboy of mine? Is there a friend, right? Like, hey, let me know if there's something that can come up 5 years from now when we really, really, tied in, that's going to untie us. That's legit. That's 100% legit. Is there anything that's going to pop up 3-4 years from now when you and I are locked in that can unlock us? Now is your opportunity. And if she say there is nothing, I'm going to take your word. There is nothing, right? But you got to make sure that she understands that there's consequences of you telling me that there's nothing and then it becomes something. There's consequences for that. So this question of like, yo, what's your whole facts? Stop asking it. Stop. You're never going to get the truth. You're never going to get the truth. Never. Cut it out. Cut it out. All right, we'll be hopping on tonight. Y'all know Torian been doing the black male studies thing with Dr. Tommy Curry. But before we go there, I want y'all to look at something real quick here. I want to show you something because this is about to start becoming a theme, and I want to say I don't know why this is going to become a theme, but I know why this is going to become a theme. And I don't know if you can read the headline here, but this is the benefit of a two-parent home a myth? Harvard sociologist explains. This is Anand Anapur and company. I actually think this came on CNN. I actually think she was interviewed with CNN first. And I think they're just replaying that. But I want y'all to listen to this clip right here before I go into Dr. Tommy Curry tonight.
Where the two-parent family was kind of held up as the antidote to all manner of ills like, poverty and crime and stuff. And one of the reasons that struck me just to begin with is that I think that there's sort of an attitude that African Americans don't talk about issues like this among themselves. Mm-hmm. Like this is sort of an outside-in conversation.
Now, problem number one that I have with this is the interviewer. She's already juxtaposing it as this is not a conversation that we have in the black community. But as you guys know, being black males in this community that are fathers, when we discuss the ideal of families in the black community, we know where we get pushback from, right? I'm not getting, believe it or not, I'm not really getting pushback from Glocktavius, right? That's not what I'm getting pushback from. I typically get pushback from the elite bourgeoisie, liberal, black radical feminists, right? The Bell Hookians, right? The Toni Morrisons, right? That's where I'm typically getting the pushback when we have this conversation on, hey, we probably should get back to family, right? This ideal of the black male oppressor. But I'm going to let her talk. I'm going to let you finish.
And so the first thing that I noticed was you say that this was kind of a commonly discussed theme in your childhood, at church, and your family members. Can you just talk about that very briefly?
Yes. So like you mentioned, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I grew up in a working class community there. And many times I would hear folks at church, at school, within my neighborhood, sort of trying to grapple with many of the challenges that we were facing and trying to understand what really was driving some of the issues within my community. And often family structure, in particular, single parent families came up as part of the narrative. And a lot of times the story was that our community was better off when we had higher rates of two-parent households, and that unfortunate.
Now I want y'all to remember what she's saying right here, right? There's this narrative that our families was better off when there's two-parent households, because this is kind of positioning as if no, single parenthood is good, but I'm gonna let her tell you.
There had been a change with an increase in single parent families, which was, among other things, a really important factor in driving some of the challenges we are facing.
But here's where your book takes an interesting turn. You write that Americans have great faith in the power of the family, and in particular, the power of the two-parent family. We imagine this domestic idol to be a haven from the harsh realities of the outside world. And the way we rhapsodic, it's easy to assume that most Americans see the two-parent family as a great equalizer. And you say you were raised to believe in this. And growing up, the adults regularly invoke this family structure as a solution to a host of problems facing our low-income African-American community. So that's the first thing. You say that, look, there's a reason that so many of us continue to hold fast to the idea that, two-parent families are advantageous. It's true. I mean, it's just common sense. But one of the central findings here is that the negative effect of single motherhood on child outcomes is weaker for African-American children than for white children. And the well-being of Black youth from two-parent families is substantially lower than that of their white peers.
All right. I want y'all to notice what happened here real quick. All right. She's discussing two-parent households, right? And then she uses a whataboutism. Now, I do not blame Christina Cross for doing this. This is 100% the interviewer right here, right? Because the interviewer has a point of view that she wants to get across. So she's asking questions in a manner that will portray her point of view using an expert analysis, right? Christina Cross, I'm going to have to read this book inherently inherited inequity. I'm gonna have to read a book before I have a full opinion on her. But what I understand what Christina Cross here is doing is she's saying that, like, hey, we have this idea of a two-parent household, and everything that's problematic in the Black community can be fixed in a two-parent household. She's saying perhaps that is not the case. It is nothing wrong with asking that question, right? That is how scientists answer problems. That is just a hypothesis. That's it. It's just a hypothesis. So she did her, because I did a little background check on her before I came on tonight. I believe this was her college thesis dissertation when she was in grad school on this. And what she's saying is that this is what she's saying. This is her only contention. In single parent homes, Blacks have a better outcomes than whites. I wouldn't disagree here based upon the evidence, right? But what the interviewer is doing right here is saying, hey, two-parent household, not a big deal, because Blacks do better in single-parent households in comparison to whites. But she's mushing these two things together. And this is the problem that I really have right now in our community when it comes to radical Black feminism is, and I don't know who the interviewer is. I'm judging based upon looks if I'm being 100% transparent here. But what I want you to notice is that in the interview, I want to play this right here. This is what she says in the interview. Let me see if I can go back and find it. Because I think they kept trying to stress this fact, and it wasn't really true.
It is true that when Black children grow up with both parents, they tend to experience advantages, and they do tend to have improved outcomes. It is also true, unfortunately, that they still lag behind their white peers in the same family structure.
So in her interview, she has to admit that, look, the kids are better off in a two-parent home, right? And the only way that she can make this an issue to say, but you know what, in a 2-parent home in comparison to whites, there's an issue, right? But in a single-parent home in comparison to whites, they're better. I have not read her book, all right? I am going off of just 4 or 5 clips that I was able to run through, look at, because I ended up seeing this today on CNN, and I was just like, what the? Because y'all know how I feel when it comes to black families. All right. But this idea that we're going to normalize it because we do a better job than the whites. I mean, traditionally, we've done a better job than the whites in most things except for income. Income is the only place that we don't best them, right? You best them in athletics. You best them in culinary. You best them in parenting. You best them in fatherhood, right? You best them in the Olympics. If you play Winter Olympics, you best them there, right? The only place we're not besting them is income, and that's due in part to systemic hindrances, for people of color in this country. When something becomes the norm and becomes a culture, of course, the black family will adapt. Yeah, we've adapted. Yeah. If black dads are the most active, yeah, you get better outcomes. Yeah. Even she has to admit that the point that the interviewer is trying to convey is stupid, right? But she's still trying to defend her point. Now, again, I'm not going to bang on her. Y'all know that I always come here and I try to point things out. Sometimes I'm just way too early. But I think in this new culture, this is about to become a theme. I don't know exactly why, but I have my suspicions why. I think everybody noticed that the country has changed. And there's only one demographic in this country that really just don't bend. It's only one. It's only one demographic that really just like, I'm going to sort of do my own thing. It's only one. Everybody else, when they see the trouble coming, they be like, yo, let me fall in line. There's only one demographic that kind of be like, you know what? I'll stand back and stand by. Right? But the fact that this was on CNN, I see a theme here. I see something coming. And we're going to go to the expert tonight so he can kind of like give us a little insight into what's coming and why it's coming.
Somehow black people, and I don't know how, because I wasn't born yet, but for some reason, black people believe that desegregation somehow meant a new world. And what's been shown to us over and over and over again is that there are white people, everyday white people in America, who are willing to participate, give up their 9-to-5 jobs to become ICE agents, to become deputized in the name of white supremacy, to support and join the National Guard or other militarized state apparatuses or agencies to control black and brown populations. And the only answer we've had to this question, to this enduring pattern and phenomena for black people is to fight each other.
Did you hear what he said right there? The only response that we've had up until this point is to fight one another. Now, this is going to be something that you're going to see in black male studies and black men in general. Is there is going to be a disagreement in how we move forward. Because there is a group of blacks that believe in revolutionary. We know our sister Shakur passed away last week in Cuba, right? Political refugee. And we know that there has been this class of black men that have traditionally been revolutionists, right? You do have a subset of black men, such as myself, that believe in intelligence, right? Intelligence as in information and intelligence as in book readiness as the apparatus to survive this upcoming, right? I don't believe in revolutionary. I believe that we would have a much better society if Dr. King died at 90 years old, if Malcolm X died at 90 years old, if Dr. Newton died at 90 years old, if Fred Hampton was in his 70s today. Would he be in his 70s? Might be in his 80s today, right? I believe that if those men live long lives as free men in the black community, I think we have a different community. I don't know if drill music would exist. I don't know if the ratchet music would exist if those men were alive. So I can't get behind the revolutionary. I can't. I'm not saying that I'm right? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't become a revolutionary, right? What I'm saying is we've too much brain power is 6 feet under instead of brawn. Too much brain power is 6 feet under. All right. I don't want Dr. Tommy Curry to lead the front lines of revolution. I don't. I want him to be in a think tank. I want him to live to be 80, 90 years old. Right? Because I think that this is the information. Where else would we get this if we don't get it from our brains? Right? When I say our brains, I'm not talking about our brains in our head. I'm talking about our brains in our community. Where else would we get this from? How much do we not know because Dr. King isn't here? Medgar Evers isn't here. Malcolm X isn't here. Dr. Newton isn't here. How much information we don't have because our quote unquote revolutionaries were all murdered. I don't believe in revolutionary. I don't. I believe in intelligence.
We're arguing with each other about who gets more recognition for being killed.
And I didn't mean to stop it right there, but that's my point. We're arguing with each other, right?
That was the primary mechanism of Black Lives Matter. To discuss, well, we know that 90-some%, 96, 97% of the black people killed are black men, but they're getting too much attention. We're not focused on why they're killing us. And it's this logic, right? These are not debates of ideology. This is debates of applicability. Why is it that black political theory? Why is it that black punditry? Why is it that black commentating have not been able to demonstrate in real time how their accounts of the world fit into what black people are experiencing? So by now we have a white population. We have college educated white people.
Listen to what he's about to say next, because remember I started this with Dr. Cross. So just remember what he's about to listen to what he's about to say next right here.
White people who are in schools, white men and white women, who fundamentally believe that black people are more dangerous, more prone to criminality, and that the only way the white race is going to survive is if they get them under control. And what's our answer to that? What is the black intellectuals? What is the black communities? What is the black activists' answer to that? Because now they don't care if you call them racist. They're about protecting their racial self-interest. You see that with the memorialization of Charlie Kirk's death.
Now, if you listen to the pod, probably about, I don't know, probably about 4 pods ago, maybe 3 pods ago, one of the things that I said is racism isn't a deal breaker anymore. All right. You calling somebody a racist is more likely to get you fired from your job than to get them fired from their job. You got to understand what environment that you're in. All right. If a house is on fire, you don't need to run through that house with flammable materials on to rescue someone. Right. If a house is on fire, you need to run through that house with flame retardant clothes on if you're going to try to save somebody. Okay? Recognize what environment that you're in. And one of the things that I am huge on, and this is why I'm not red pill, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a conservative, right? I always point out to people though, but one of the biggest problems that I have with liberalism is that it allows for the scapegoat and the usury of blacks. And what it has done is said, okay, well, we'll stop using black women, but we damn sure are going to use black men to continually push whatever agenda we want, right? Whether it is abortion, whether it is the ideal of black men not taking care of their children, so we need to increase SNAP benefits. But we will continually use the black male as a scapegoat. And as long as you're continually used as a scapegoat, there's no way for you to ever be seen as a political partner or a political equal. You just won't be. You can't. Yeah, June, you're right. The BLM movement used the bodies of black males to further themselves. But when it started getting so much attention, though, what did they do? They started saying like, "Hey, black men getting too much attention for being murdered," as if that is their choice. But notice they never gave that attention to Tamir Rice, who is probably the truest victim at the hands of police violence in the modern history of this country, right? Because we know that black males have been violated, but this was a black boy playing at a park, right? You don't even hear the name anymore. They run George Floyd name into the ground, and God rest the dead for George Floyd, right? He did not live a perfect life, but he did not deserve to die. As with many people, and I'm not going to insert names of the opposition to satiate what I'm saying right now, right? But Tamir Rice was a child, and there was no movement, right? From black liberals, from white liberals, from conservative, nobody. BLM is the Aisha Curry black movements. They may be worse. We're going to talk about Aisha on next week's pod.
They first forced all Americans, all black people, to respect that racist martyr. So you want to talk about people's attitudes? You want to talk about differences of political opinion? What does it mean when you tell an oppressed people that they have to respect and mourn their oppressor? And that if they do not, their livelihoods will not only be destroyed, but it will be completely eliminated.
All right, I'm gonna hop right here real quick.
Black academics never had true academic freedom because.
And I'm hopping right here because this is going to kind of explain what's going on with Ms. Cross, Dr. Cross.
Because if you speak too radical, if you don't stay in your place, you wouldn't get a job. The censorship of black academics has been written about for decades. Right? Going back even to the early 1900s, E. Franklin Frazier, when he wrote Race Prejudice, had to flee because he told the truth about racism. Which ironically was about how racism was targeting black men for lynchings.
You heard what he said? Franklin Frazier had to flee. He wrote about how racism targets black males, and he was ran up out of the country. Right? This is 1920s to 1950s,
and throughout America. So now white people feel that they can't say. White liberals feel they can't say what they want. Oh, this is a crisis in the values and the constitutional rights of America. It wasn't fascism when black people experienced it, but it's fascism when you experience it. So then what does that tell us? Well, that means that in 20 years, when white people have now become more moderate or more conservative overall because they have a fundamental belief in their racial interests against black and brown populations, well, then they won't see this as fascism at all. They'll see this as freedom and opportunity for their people. Fascism for white people is just a matter of perspective. For black people, it's been an enduring condition because we're not represented or we don't control American institutions. And that's the problem. The problem is we have failed to recognize that what we thought of as equality was nothing more than a facade. And we've demonized, this is the crazy part, we've demonized the black people that have told us that. And it isn't about me, but this is about people like Derek Bell. This is about people like Harold Cruz. This is about people like E. Franklin Frazier, right? The older Du Bois. This is why nobody reads the last 2 or 3 books of Du Bois.
The older Du Bois. He's talking about W.B. Du Bois. Everybody talks about talented Tim Du Bois. Most people do not talk about finally got the hell out of America, lived the end of his life in Ghana, Du Bois. And again, this is something that as a black male community, right? Because black males are going to constantly be seen as the warrior class of the black community. Whether you want to be or not, you're going to be targeted as being a warrior. So you might as well decide if you're going to participate or just be cannon fodder. You're going to have to decide. You're going to be targeted no matter what, because that's the role that you've been assigned in this culture. One of the biggest mistakes that has happened to the black community is that we have always looked at the transatlantic slave trade as being commerce, and it has never been commerce. The transatlantic slave trade was an invasion into the Gold Coast Kingdom of Africa, and we were genocided, and the ruling class were enslaved, and their children are prisoners of war, captured by their invaders. Biggest mistake that we have had as black Americans in this country is not understanding that we are the children of prisoners of war. Because if you understood that, you understand that, you know what? It wasn't just an enslavement. It wasn't trade. It wasn't commerce. It was an invasion. It was a declared war, if not a world war, that blacks was a part of. And it was a war that, to a certain extent, we lost. But we've grown out of that, though, right? Like, look at what we've produced out of that. Look at what we've become out of that. Of course we were the ruling class and the top class in the world, because if we can go to our invaders' homeland and influence our invaders, right? If we can become leaders in their homeland, if we can have a worldwide diaspora that we influence the world, I mean, K-pop, you know, the Chinese, right? The Europeans, the South Americans, the Caribbeans. This is all influenced by the children of prisoners of war. If you understand that we are the children of prisoners of war, right? But we do not have the ability to destroy our enemy, right? What I say all the time, 48 laws of power. If you can't destroy your enemy, you don't have an enemy, you have an adversary. And if we understand that this was war, right? We're the descendants of prisoners of war, that perhaps we don't need revolution. Perhaps what we need in our community is intelligence. And that's all I got tonight. That's all I got. That's all I got. If you want to finish listening to this, Black Male Studies, this is episode number 4. Terrain Walker. He's interviewing Dr. Tommy Curry. I don't know if you've noticed yet. I might be a little bit of a Dr. Curry stan. Found this brother during COVID, maybe right before COVID, but was able to go into a lot of his work, and he reiterated a lot of things that, you know, a lot of conversations that I had been having with individuals where, you know, I was on the outside of the conversation. So, and one of the things that I always make sure I try not to do is make sure I'm not in an echo chamber. You know, I'm just finding someone that agrees with me. And one of the things that I love about Dr. Tommy Curry is that he goes with the empirical evidence, right? It's numbers on top of numbers on top of numbers, and he gives them to you. So if you haven't followed him yet, I would definitely suggest follow him on Twitter, and just, you know, interact with that community of black guys that are in the Black Male Studies world. And I'll tell you guys, it's getting a lot of pushback. Black Male Studies is a brand new field. I think Dr. Curry wrote The Man Not in 2018. Let's see here. 2017. So 2018 is kind of when I ran across it. So really, really good book. He discussed, here's the thing, right? He doesn't discuss machismo, right? This is not about black machoism, right? This is not about black men need to be the patriarchs in their home. What he really talks about is like, hey, there's an attacking that's going on right here, right? I used to say it's a scapegoating. Dr. Tommy Curry has let me know that it's actually warfare, right? Scapegoating is kind of like, oh, we're just laissez-faire, and we need to place the blame somewhere. One of the things that he's made me realize is that, it's not accidental. It's very intentional, right? This is actual war, and everything that has been implemented against black males is according to the rules of war. And that's kind of changed the way I look at a lot of things. Him and Dr. Hassan Johnson, and they're actually really good friends. BGOR is really good too. I'm almost certain he's a PhD as well. A lot of these brothers in this field are PhDs, super smart guys. But understanding that it's beyond scapegoating and understanding it as actual war, it puts you in a different mindset, right? Because one of the things that I realize is like we're not in the capacity to fight a war. But if you've known me for the past decade, one of the things that I said when I came out of my divorce, and this was not indicative of my marriage or my ex-wife, but it was indicative of me getting back out here in the world. One of the things that I realized, I was like, if you're a productive black man, you need to be in a tactical retreat. So, and one of the things, and the reason why it resonates with me, is that I love studying religion and warfare, because those two things often intersect for whatever reason. But one of the things I went back, and I've always said that we need to be in a tactical retreat. And a tactical retreat doesn't mean that you're quitting the fight. What it means is what it would take for you to win. It would cost you too much. So what you do is you back away, you try to find high ground, or you try to move back to where no one can get you to, so you can regroup to have an ideal of how you come back at the enemy in the future. And I've said that for a while, that black men need to be in a tactical retreat, but understanding how we're seen is beyond scapegoating right now. How we're seen is actually warfare has really changed the way I view trying to interact with individuals on a day-to-day basis, to understand that it's not whether or not someone likes you. It's more along the lines of, it's a really good chance that this is almost a spy, right? This is almost somebody that wants to infiltrate what you have and destroy it from the inside, create a Trojan horse and bring you down from the inside. And I think that's a lot of what goes on in the black community. And the thing about a Trojan horse is, it looks like a gift, right? It looks like it belongs to you. It looks like it belongs inside. And I think that's a lot of what occurs in our community as black men, is that it looks like it belongs, right? Like the men that we interact with that are black men, they look like they belong, right? The women that we interact with, they look like they belong, right? And we bring them inside. And I think that's been the problem. And I think that's why we need to focus on intelligence versus revolution. That's all I got tonight, fellas. Hey, we'll be out tomorrow night. If you're in Charlotte, I'll be getting there a little bit late, but I'll probably be there around 7:30 or 8. We'll be at Havana tomorrow. Catch the Thursday night football. So if any of y'all Charlotte people are free, feel free to come through. I'll definitely be there. I'll probably be there for 2-3 hours. So feel free to drop in. Appreciate all y'all. We're trying to get together a little event before the end of the year, but we'll see. But that's all I got, man. I appreciate y'all coming in on live tonight.